Hello, and welcome back to another episode of our podcast, Igniting Hot Seats. And today we have Ankita
Nandkeolyar.
Nandkeolyar, the founder of Firebrand. If you want to introduce yourself to us.
Yes. Hi, I'm Ankita. I'm the founder of Firebrand. It's a strategic branding and design studio based out of India. We've been around for 10 years and we have helped companies right from a startup scale to mid-sized to big-size companies launch new brands and create purpose-driven brands.
Great. And now we can start with our questions with the help of our Ted Bear. Every guest gave them a name. If you want to do it as well.
Oh, sure. I think I would like to call him Fury.
Theory.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start with theory in the questions then.
Ankita, you built Firebrand from zero with local insight and global ambition, but many brands in India are fast scaling, getting global attention before they've truly earned it at home. Is rootedness a strategic advantage or a break in an age of instant global platforms?
So I don't think it's either or. I think it's a real balance, right? Like it's really dependent on which brand and what is the brand that you're really trying to take to the world. So I think it's a question you have to ask inward. Now, if it is a brand that is catering to a global audience and has really not much to do with your local roots, then of course being global and standing for what your audience will resonate with matters more. But there are brands that are very, very rooted in culture, that are very, very local, that have become global and have become big as well, because their roots is what has taken them to this level. So a few examples that I could give is if you look at Forest Essentials, it's an Indian skincare brand and it's rooted in luxury Ayurveda. Now, they did not change the narrative when they brought the brand on a global footprint. They stayed very true to their Ayurvedic roots, their Indian roots, the luxury roots. Another example that I would like to share is a bike brand. I'm not very sure if you're familiar with. It's called Royal Enfield. They are a very large brand back home, and they are for bikers, and it really has this rugged feel to the brand. But when they went global, so they sell across 50 countries as we speak. When they went global, they did not really try to be a Harley Davidson. They did not try to be a Ducati. They stayed very true to their Indian roots and they celebrated the Indian roads and the Indian journey. So right now, with that story, they are really available across the world. And I think the final example that I would like to share with you about rootedness really going global is a fashion brand called Sabyasachi. He's really broken concrete when it comes to bringing Indian fashion onto the global map. He has stayed very true to his craft, very true to his rooted culture. And even though today he's selling across the world and he is doing cuts and clothes for a very global audience, his product narrative still ties back to his Indian roots. So I think it's about what you can own very authentically that can really make you global. So whether you want to be rooted to your culture or your narrative, really, really starts with the brand that you're trying to build.
Thank you. When you talk about, you started Firebrand from zero, and you also starting helping all these startups. Do you think, what you mentioned in the lesson previously, do you think that the help of these private investors, it's so important, like plays a big role when it comes to the how can I put this, the launch of these brands globally? Mm-hmm. Or do you think that even without this funding, they would eventually grow and go into globally like this? Or
yeah, so I think it really again boils down. So to answer your question in a simple word, yes, it's very important to have funding if you want to go global. It helps because you can put a better version of yourself out there. You can really work on your messaging. You can really invest heavily in creating good content that resonates with your audiences, and all of this comes at a cost. So if you do have funding, that does have its own challenges, but it helps you reach your goals a little faster. So definitely funding helps, but there are brands. In fact, there is a brand called Zerodha in India, and they are phenomenally big. They found like a gap in India, and it's more about a trade platform, and they are not funded, and they are like one of the largest companies in India today, and they are also planning to go global. So I think it depends on your resources, your timeline, and your product, but definitely funding is always a great idea.
At this funding, it's more, you find more investors that are willing to help startups starting from zero, or also in your case, like in more branding or more strategic logistic type of work.
So you're asking me whether investors are willing to invest in companies?
Yes,
like that?
in companies like yours, or it's more just going straight to clients. Is how is the invest how is that positioning like? Do you think that it's equally like you get the same in incentive from private investors, or is they just go straight to clients? Did you have this type of help?
No. So actually, mine is a service business. It's a brand strategy studio, and I'm very proud to say that we haven't really raised any funding from the outside, and we've grown slow, we've grown organically, and we've grown in a very intentional manner. But we are a service-driven business, and we have certain ambitions that align with me as a founder. But if you are in a product business, and if even service businesses for that matter, but especially if you're in a product business, in order to market yourselves and put your product out there, because today with the number of brands that are popping up in India especially, it is very important to be able to differentiate yourself and to be able to stand out. And I think that's where funding really helps, because a lot of money goes into the marketing spends for a lot of companies. So in our case, we haven't raised money because we, like I mentioned, we want to keep it very intentionally small and do like quality work. We don't have ambitions of scaling overnight and getting that growth at the moment.
Okay, and with that, I think we can go to the next question.
In 2025, generative AI can whip up brands in days, but you insist strategy, words, details still matter. Is disciplined craft now the ultimate future-proof asset?
That's a very tricky question, but yes, I think AI should be a tool that you use to just better your cognition a little bit, like, have a little support. But I don't think it's going to really replace the disciplined craft in a lot of ways. So I think you have to really adapt with it, and you need to really move with it. Like, just to give you an example, back when industrialization happened, a lot of manual labor was replaced by machinery. Then you had the internet. A lot of like postal services were replaced by, your emails. So AI is going to take over and do a lot of the branding work that we do today, but it's still not going to have that, the intuition and the feeling and the emotion that goes into building brands. I think it can definitely help take on the load and do a lot of, the manual work. So the skill sets that we need will change a little bit, but I think the craft will remain the same, because it is not something that, it can make it faster, but the eventual goal of what you deliver only comes through that human emotion experience, because AI will only give you an answer that is as good as your prompt, right? And all our prompts can be very different. So you can't risk only depending on that for your strategy in the future, because brand strategy is a lot more nuanced. It's really about looking where mostly you don't look. It's about dealing with emotions. It's layered. So again, having AI just do that may not be, it will probably happen, but I think you still need to go a lot deeper. So I feel that disciplined craft is really here for the long term.
What you mentioned previously in the lesson as well, like we have the guts, right, when it comes to know how to deal with the client, but also how to think strategically to start a project. What do you personally think of AI, and do you use AI in your company?
Yes, we use AI quite a bit. Whether it's design, a lot of our manual work that took hours to sit and do has become a lot quicker. So to give you an example, earlier designers would have to sit and Photoshop little elements and then remove the background from an image. And now AI does it in like a second. Now that is work that is not very cerebral, right? Like it's just more time consuming and more labor oriented. So I think AI in our company right now is helping us do things a lot more efficiently. But that does not mean we're doing it quicker or churning it out and throwing work that's out there that doesn't feel authentic. I personally use AI a lot now to do a lot of my research. But it's funny that, you asked me this question because just I think today, or was it yesterday, that I read a article by Sam Altman, the founder of OpenAI, and he actually made a statement that it's funny how people trust AI so much because AI tends to hallucinate, and AI can also give you facts which are not true. So probably that's the reality today. Maybe 10 years, maybe 5 years later, it's going to be very, very accurate. But I would never only rely on the data that AI gives me to formulate my concepts and my thoughts and the strategy for brands. I think it's definitely something that helps me streamline my data, copy check, proof check, whether there's a dot, whether there's a comma missing, these are things that AI can help you do. But the real intuitive thought comes from experience and, just the collective discussions that we have with human beings.
Of course, and there's so many cases, so many examples of how AI give us the answers that we want it to give us.
Yeah.
And people in general tend to believe anything that's on social media or anything that's online without checking the veracity of the fact. So I've read many news, like in Brazil, people that took AI as a religion, as something that it's so true, and end up completely, some people going crazy.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that because the way our brains work, right? Like when there were no mobile phones, we remembered all the mobile numbers and all the phone numbers rather of people. The minute the mobile phone came in, we didn't really feel the need to remember numbers. So our brain has almost forgotten how to remember numbers. When calculators came, we stopped actually using our brain to multiply. We're like, let's just calculate it.
It's faster. Yeah.
And with AI, my fear is that a lot of people trust it so much already that they're going to also stop using their brains to apply their knowledge or their challenges because they're going to lean on AI. So AI is great when everything is going good, but suddenly if there's a crisis, AI cannot teach you human skills. It cannot be human, right? Like that's why the word artificial is there. So I think that's something we need to be very clear about, that yes, it has its potential dangers and we don't really need to rely on it blindly. Because I do see this a lot, even sometimes at my workplace, that people just enter the exercise that, okay, this is my client, this is what I need to do, give me some thoughts. But the kind of answers you get, they are very thought of already. And if you really want to push the envelope, do something exciting, do something new, you really need to think beyond the human capacity. And AI can only give you what all the humans together have taught it, right? But how do you push the envelope if you don't think? So my fear is that AI shouldn't take over, that we all forget how to even think.
It's funny that you mentioned about the phone numbers because there's two situations that happened to me. First of all, I was talking to a friend and I asked them, what would you do if someone steals your phone right now? Who are you going to call? Because our whole life is in the phone.
Yeah.
Even sometimes to access to your house, it's a Bluetooth connection. And another thing is when it comes remember phone numbers, anniversaries, birthdays. I don't know the birthday of anyone. So I always had on Facebook remember today is this person's birthday. And my dad is 77 years old, so really old school. And he has a physical calendar with the birthday birthday of everyone that he knows.
Yeah.
And he calls them every year. So like it's something that I think it's a tradition that we lost,
Yes.
and it's so
And-
it doesn't become meaningful.
And that's also what connection is, right? Like human connection is being lost because of social media, now because of AI. I think we're almost forgetting what it's like to be human. Like humans need humans. Humans need connections to really survive. Like that's our survival instinct. And I think the example that you gave me about your dad, like it is such an effort to actually remember what birthdays are, and that is all about connection, which I think today we are sort of losing because of the technology that's coming in.
Even professional connections, if talking
Yeah.
about networking, like AI can't do that for you yet.
Exactly.
You need
Not
to go,
yet.
not
but,
yet.
there are these AI agents who send out emails, and there's a lot of bunch of stuff happening. There are AI therapists, there are AI bankers and wealth managers. So I think the possibility of AI is great, crazy, but it's also a little bit scary because eventually they're not humans, and humans need that real. I mean, there's always going to be people who will adapt to it very, very quickly, and there will always be people who will stay true to authenticity a little bit. So yeah.
Very interesting. We can go to the next question.
Firebrand started as an all-women platform built on humility and emotional intelligence. In the branding world, is EQ finally the edge? And is this a mission for more diverse leadership?
Definitely. I think EQ is the edge. And women are a lot more equipped with EQ than men are, but it's not exclusive to women. There are men also who understand this and further this a lot more. But the business that we are in, the business of branding, it's all about emotions. It's all about layers. It's not just numbers, right? It's not just crunching facts, but it's about how does this reality affect my consumer who is so and so. So it's very, very nuanced. So definitely having a little edge on EQ is very important. But again, I think EQ is reduced to just a concept. Oh yeah, it's just about emotions and all of that. But I think emotions really drive brands. It really drives narratives. It's sharp, it's laser focused, and it is very strategic also. So definitely I think EQ is the edge. And when it comes to leadership, of course, having a diverse workplace is very important. I think now a lot more, especially, in India, women had a seat on the table, but they did not have a mic in their hand. But now a lot of women are grabbing the mic and really owning the narrative and really pushing the envelope. Whether you look at startup founders, whether you look at business houses, you see a lot more women coming in, and also leadership, like women in leadership think of so many aspects that men honestly it doesn't even cross their mind, like whether it's childcare, whether it's flexibility. And I think all of this really needs to be thought about and brought in, not just in branding. I think it's across industries to make work a lot more inclusive.
I completely agree with you. And my question in this subject is, do you see any difference when it comes to like being a woman, like how can I say, like a leader, being a woman and being a man in the past 10 years that you've been in front of your own business? Do you see any changes like 10 years ago and today?
So honestly, I think I have been fairly blessed because, I did get a lot of support around me, whether it's my family, whether it's my support system, my colleagues, to really pursue my vision and my passion. But definitely in the last 10 years, if I can talk about a change that I see a lot, is when I did start my branding journey, a lot of the companies and a lot of the startups were men driven. Like, I didn't see a lot of women founders. There was always they were always given a role in the company, or for optics, let's get a woman on the board because the government asks for it. Like, we have certain laws with bigger companies where they need to have a woman on the board and all of that. But that has changed, as the world is moving, and as the work culture is evolving, over the last 10 years, I have seen a lot more women taking charge and taking control of their own destiny. Like, they are not just, and it's not just about getting a job. You see a lot more women starting companies, them being fearless. I've seen mothers juggle 2, 3 children and still doing like a startup or still starting a brand. So I think there is a lot of scope for women now compared to 10 years back. And there's also a sense of confidence that has come into women. And like I mentioned, earlier women had a place on the table. Yeah, come join us on the table. But not many made themselves really heard. But now women are leading the narrative and are controlling the conversations in a lot of boardrooms.
And do you think is there something else to do? There is still some room to change.
Oh yeah, I think a lot because especially because I'm a mother and I know the kind of challenges that come to you when you just give birth. Simple things, right? Like when women go through many phases in their lives, right? Like their body changes, their priorities change. So I truly feel that a lot of the workplaces globally as well as in India, they aren't very supportive of women who've just had children. Like, oh, you know what? Her priority is going to be her child, so let me just not get her onto this project. She won't have the time, blah, blah, blah. So I feel and it's not just the workplace, right? It's also clients. It's also the people that you work with. I mean, it'll be great if there is enough support and flexibility so that women are able to juggle life priorities, work priorities, and home priorities, which I feel there is a lot of scope for improvement there.
Do you agree? You can go to the next question.
It's 2030. Indian startups are all globally launched via AI-driven brand platforms. Their brand feels perfect, but no one in India feels seen. Firebrand feels nostalgic, too slow, too deep. Do you pivot to plug in the speed, or stay anchored and risk being left behind?
So I would say I'll stay anchored, but I'll change the sails a little bit. It's all about adapting. So I would definitely want to be very grounded and rooted to our process and the way we look at every single detail. But at the same time, I think branding and like you mentioned, right? Like the minute AI starts doing everything for you, you will start looking very, very same, right? Like there is going to be no differentiation. So how do you really stand out? I think I would stay fairly rooted to my process, but I would pivot and make my process a lot more efficient with the use of the tools that technology is bringing to us.
I want to make a hook to the lesson that you gave us yesterday on the first presentation that you talk about. We don't have to have it all at time. We need to take step by step. We're going to meet loads of versions of ourselves. We don't have to follow the map, and growth isn't a straight line. How do you align all your values? Because also Firebrand, it's a lot about values that you insisted, like it's deep rooted in that. How do you align all these values and everything that you've been doing from the beginning to AI? Do you think that there's a connection to that, or it's two different things?
Yeah, I think at this point, we haven't really trusted AI so much with our lives and with our work, right? Like it's a tool that we use to just do things a little quicker. And like I gave you the example of the designers, right? Like we take away the laborious work or the boring work or the manual work. But when it comes to values, I don't know if AI is there yet to really understand emotions, understand values, and really integrate it in our process yet. So I think the value piece, these are all very human, human traits, right? I don't know if AI is there and will be there to really work with these human traits as we move on. So I don't know how AI is going to answer your question. I don't know how it's going to be in the future. But as of now, our value set, our culture, our people, they're very human-led. And And that sort of reflects in the branding we do, because we look for human truths and then try to plug the brand to address some of those human truths. So that's why we don't lean on AI to come up with those kind of strategies.
Okay, so to summarize it, you'd say that you do all the work and use AI as a tool only to guide you in the most in the job that would take more time to do, for example.
Yeah.
And so we would lead this to trying to process all the thoughts at the same time, to be authentic, to be yourself, to be true to your own values, but also to have the help of technology.
Yeah, absolutely. So AI will help us find certain data points. Definitely, it helps with research, but everything has to be validated anyway, because like the founder is speaking himself, right? Like, don't trust AI. He said it in the podcast that OpenAI did, I think, 2 days ago. So I don't think you can trust it so much, but of course, the research and the heavy lifting and the boring work. So yeah, we use a lot of Chat GPT, especially to do things like, okay, do a copy check, do a grammar check, and those kind of things. Like, we're training our Chat GPT as a model to understand certain nuances of our language and all of that, but it's primarily for that purpose. Now my social media team, like, they would use it to write, like, for example, captions. You write it, but then how do you make it Insta friendly? How do you make it with a hook? Now, this is where AI can give you a lot of information and a lot of things to really lean on. But I wouldn't make it the primary process of working.
Just another employee to have the picture at the interest of your office.
Sorry?
Just another employee to have the picture of the interest of your office, like when you had your own picture there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Just one last question. What tips do you have, like suggestions to someone who is starting now and wants to be different, because we have so many startups and you have so many branding companies out there, to someone who wants to start tomorrow? What would you tell them?
Yeah, I think it's just what I shared in the class, right? Like, find your why, like, find what you are good at, what you like doing, what you don't mind waking up every day for, something that gives you the motivation to just go out there because you're so damn good at it. Try to find that. And if you find that and build your business or your model around it, I think it becomes a lot easier, because you're a lot more motivated than you will be if not for a real purpose. So I would say, just start from your center, start from your core, write down your why, and then build it from there.
Okay, perfect. So this was our interview with Ankita. Thank you for
Great.
for your time.
Thanks a lot. Thank you so much.
I will be back again with the next guest soon.